Professional cycling is the hardest sport in the world. While there are countless other sports out there where you've got to be skilled, motivated, talented, powerful, and committed to making those sacrifices, cycling is just that little bit different. You're mostly training alone. Your job is to suffer, and the longer you're able to withstand that suffering, the better you'll be. It's the traveling, it's the living away from home, and on top of that, you're risking your bloody life too. It takes a special type of person to be a pro rider, or even someone who puts their balls on the line. And now I gave it a good go for say 4 to 5 years. Now I know I may be a little bit biased here, as the early part of my adult life was spent pursuing a career in the professional side of the sport. I do honestly think that cycling, it's one of the hardest sports in the world, and it's only getting harder. In the last decade, we've seen a seismic shift in the pro cycling world. Racing is getting much faster. Riders are leaning more on the science, which results in them becoming even stronger. The entry level is just getting higher, and the talent that is signed is just at a younger age. Sure, the title of this video, Why You Will Never Be a Pro Cyclist, may sound a little harsh, and it may be that I'm wrong too. Maybe you're watching this and you've already participated in the Tour de France, or you've got a World Tour contract in your back pocket. Good on you. It's an amazing feat that sticks with you for the rest of your life. I digress. Here are some of the reasons why you'll never become a professional cyclist. 1, age. Now, I'm not being ageist, but I'm pretty confident in saying that if you're watching this video and over the age of 30, look, I'm 33, then I don't think you're going to be turning pro. The hottest property in pro cycling currently are youngsters. In the past, riders were allowed to go through the traditional development routes of the juniors and the under 23 categories before getting that pro contract. Even once in the pro ranks, it was expected that a rider would need at least a few years to adapt and developing and reaching their peak in the late 20s or even early 30s. Well, that is what I was hoping for if I got there. But it's all changed in the last 5 years, mainly thanks to the success of Belgian rider Remco Evenepoel. Riders are now getting recruited into World Tour straight out of school, and it's expected for them to perform immediately. It's bonkers. It's crazy to think if you haven't won a Grand Tour by the time you're 22 these days, then are you even relevant? You might as well just, pack it in there and then. My entry into pro cycling was a bit of a late bloomer. I started riding at the age of 16, started racing locally, and worked my way up through the ranks, forcing my way onto the AIS squad as a third year under 23. Rode 2 years with AIS and then signed with Rafa Condor Sharp in 2012 and enjoyed the sunny skies of Manchester. It's crazy to think back then I've never even heard of the brand Rafa. Then in 2013, rode with Rafa, then stepped away in 2014 and came back in 2015 and rode with JLT Condor. But in hindsight, it may have been a mistake. A lot had changed in that time. 2, physiology. The biggest entry barrier into the pro ranks is your physiology. If you don't have the physical capability, then you won't make it. To put some context to this from a power perspective, the average pro has a threshold of around 6 watts per kilo or 420 watts at 70 kilos. While VO2 max is just an indicator, to an elite cyclist as a man, you're expected to have a VO2 max of at least 70 milligrams per kilo per minute. And for the women, at a min of 60 milligrams. To put this into contrast with the general population, the average sporty 30-year-old man has a VO2 max between 40 and 45, and the equivalent for women should be about 33 to 37. VO2 max is thought to be around 50% genetic, so you can at least partially blame your parents for it if you're not a pro athlete. 3, skill. Perhaps the least talked about attribute when we consider pro cycling is skill. It plays a huge part in getting a pro contract. Just because you are a strong bike rider, it doesn't mean you're going to be a good bike racer. If racing was completely based on power data, then we'd be simply seeing the best riders from Swift transfer into the road. Now, while that has happened on a couple of occasions, a majority of World Tour riders struggle when they face the best riders on these e-racing platforms. Bike handling is something that cannot be taught, but is learned through years of riding and racing. Making decisions when eyeballs deep in lactic acid, knowing what to do, when the wind's coming across an open road and the group, forms in this echelon and starts panicking. Without handling skills, you're never going to make it as a pro cyclist. In a weird chicken and egg situation, it's hard to be perfect at a lot of these skills until you've raced at the highest level. 4, it's not as glamorous as it seems. Riding around on the latest equipment, mechanics tuning your bike to every race and traveling all over the world to race. It sounds like pros have got a pretty good deal, but it's not really as good as it seems. Pro cycling has a very slippery and precarious ladder to the top. It is only those at the top that make the big bucks and experience everything you see on TV. When watching a Grand Tour, you don't see riders at the back fighting to make time cut, nor do you see all the nights away from home staying at a random hotel above 2,000 meters on an altitude camp. You don't even appreciate those in the lower echelons of the sport who are fighting just to get a shot in the big leagues. Fighting for a single year contracts which provide you next to no job security either. Chasing the pro dream is wild, trust me. I've been there, but I think it's fair to say it's not something for everyone. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe to the channel if you enjoy it. And why not drop a comment below telling us when you realized you could or couldn't chase the pro dream.